David Sullivan is right at this point today having a hold my beer moment. David Sullivan is saying, hold on lads, I've got this. Watch this. Hold my beer. This is how it's done. I'm going to do these transfers. You lot don't know what you're doing. That's what's going on at the moment, right now at West Ham. And we are going to find out now how good or bad or indifferent David Sullivan is at this, because the pressure is on. And he's officially said, I'm taking over. I'm in charge. So if this doesn't work out, we know who to blame. We know who to blame anyway, by the way. But the chucking under the bus has been done over the last few days. And it's been done so much, I think David Sullivan thinks that it absolves him of blame. I think he thinks that people buy this stuff. I think he believes it. I think he thinks if he puts the information out there, that people will believe it. That if the blame is laid at Kyle Macaulay's door, if the blame is laid at Graham Potter's door or Tim Stighton's door, then people say, people don't swallow this stuff. People aren't stupid. People know whose fault it is. It's David Sullivan. The big difference is now, it's basically more out in the open than it's ever been. We've always suspected it. Oh, was Said Ben Rama a David Sullivan signing? That sort of thing. Sometimes it's been more obvious than others. Be Callum Wilson would be a good example. But it's the grey area ones. We don't really know. He's unequivocally, we know. We know. He's letting us know. He's let us know, hasn't he? Let us know that Hermansen is Graham Potter's signing because he's rubbished him. Imagine that, your employer. I've got to feel sorry for that goalkeeper. I do feel sorry for that goalkeeper. His confidence must be shot. And imagine hearing that your boss don't think you're any good. And forget football, any workplace. You just start a new job and your boss, waste of time bringing him in, wouldn't it? I mean, this is just horrendous. It is, man management-wise, that is horrendous. And he is a man manager because he's the chairman. He's in charge of the football club. It all filters down through the football club. But people aren't buying it anymore. People aren't allowing him to make his scapegoats. He's still making scapegoats, but it's not effective. I think he thinks people still believe it. As I said, these Karen Brady, David Sullivan, they virtue signal to the mainstream media. The West Ham fans are just not buying it. I think the petition's got 10,000 signatures now. 10,000. Hammers United have asked the Metropolitan Police for permission to march. I was going to say he hasn't got a clue what's coming. He should have a clue what's coming. This is Groundhog Day. Absolutely Groundhog Day. But this is his hold my beer moment. This is him saying, I'm going to do this. Watch this now. This is how you get transfers done. Oh, this ain't going to be pretty. This ain't going to be pretty. I think you can judge for yourselves how I think this is going to play out. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. One of Sullivan's biggest criticisms of Tim Stighton was that Tim overpaid. He probably did. He probably did. Now Sullivan's going to have to overpay. This is horrendous what's going on at the moment. Oh, by the way, I'm glad I didn't forget. Massive thank you to Michael and Mike for sending the videos. They allowed me to have a few days away from West Ham. It's hard to do, particularly because even I was at a pinball tournament and people, not football people, are saying, what's going on with your football club, mate? I wasn't refreshing my browser all the time, but WhatsApp and stuff like that, it's hard to ignore it, right? It's really, really hard to ignore it. But a massive thank you to Michael and Mike, and thanks for all your comments and your interactions with them. They'll be along later on this week. Don't worry about that. So, yeah, massive thanks to them. David Sullivan is doing so badly at the moment. We're about to, as I understand it, allow Emerson to leave for not much money. I mean, not much at all. Next to nothing. We'll call it next to nothing. Edson Alvarez is leaving on really not very good terms at all. David Sullivan is struggling to sell players. As I mentioned before, I mentioned this 3 weeks ago, he's hired intermediaries to try and sell the players. He can't flog them. I don't think he can buy players either. I think he is so detached from the modern ways of football. He ain't got a clue. Because he thinks he's got some secret squirrel right way. He thinks that there is a way that somehow he can do something that all the other clubs don't do. he's going to do it his way. The chairman's going to buy the players. Brilliant. Never mind that every other club in the Premier League has a director of football. Never mind that every club in Europe has a director of football. We're going to do it differently. How can he not look at it? Look at the league table. Look at the fact that he can't sell players, but he is completely deluded. Not only does he think he's doing a good job, he has now outsourced the blame. So the blame is at the moment Kyle Macaulay and Graham Potter. So it's a case of, right, they've done a crap job. By the way, he's been involved. He's been involved. It's not like he's had nothing to do with the transfers so far in the window, but now he's taking full control. That's what he wants. He wants full control. I'm taking full control now. Watch this. Hold my beer. Here I go. Well, we're waiting. We're waiting. This will be very, very interesting indeed. Before I go any further, today's video sponsor, Boyle Sports. Boyle Sports, we have got a great sign-up offer for you guys, but only if you're watching Hammers Chat and only if you're using the Hammers Chat join-up code, which is somewhere in the description below. You can't just go on Google and search for Boyle Sports. You've got to use the link in the description below. Sign up, deposit a tenner, use a tenner in a bet, and you will get £30 worth of free bets, sports bets, and another tenner's worth of casino bets. That's 40 quid. If you just go and sign up with Google or whatever, you get 25 quid. Not only that, throughout the season, we will be offering you Hammers Chat boosted odds on West Ham related bets. So if you're going to be betting on West Ham, the good odds are going to be with Boyle Sports because they have partnered with us for the season. We're absolutely delighted to have them as partners. Use the link in the description below. Terms and conditions apply. Read the small print, 18 years and above. So no little uns for this one. Only mums and dads, I'm afraid. But bet responsibly, as always. And just make sure you use the code and the link below to join up. Otherwise, you will not get those Brucey bonus join up credits on your account. It's been a tough few days, actually. Just to be a West Ham fan. And I've been out of it. I've been out of the loop. I really have been. But it is unavoidable. I mentioned what's happened with Hermansen. Don't like that at all. I hate the fact that Kyle Macaulay's been thrown under the bus. What do you expect? This is his fault. If Kyle Macaulay is no good, that's David Sullivan's fault. It's his fault for sacking a director of football and not replacing him with a director of football. What do you think is going to happen? And I feel sorry for Macaulay. He has been elevated to a position which he's just not qualified for. Look at what Sunderland did. They went out and got a proper director of football. I'm using them because they've been promoted for the Premier League. They pulled out to the Premier League. They pulled their pants down. And they look like they've got their recruitment absolutely spot on. 18 months ago, David Sullivan was saying we needed to bring in more pace in midfield. Where is it? We are so slow. This is nothing new. Makes you question what David Sullivan is watching when he's watching the football. I don't think he sees it. I don't think he understands. I don't think... The biggest problem we've got, by the way, and I want to make this point, I never fancied Graham Potter. I don't think Graham Potter... I think Graham Potter might be a good coach if he's surrounded by an infrastructure that supports him. Make no mistake about it, he's not surrounded by that infrastructure at West Ham. At Brighton he was, at West Ham he's not. He was a head coach. At West Ham, he's a manager. He's not equipped for it. He can't carry the weight of the club on his shoulders. That's what you've got to do. He's crumbling in press conferences. I've mentioned I don't think Kyle Macaulay should have been director of football. This is nothing new. I said this when they joined and when it was made clear. But that is Sullivan's decision. It's his club. One thing that all this has done is it's allowed, I think because how quickly it happened with Lopetegui, with Potter coming in, I don't think Sullivan has suffered the full glare of the scrutiny and the microscope on him for appointing Lopetegui. That deserves some forensic analysis. That was such a bad appointment. You might get away with one bad appointment, you can't follow that up with another. And I think that's what's happened here. But to outsource the blame, that's not their fault. You've hired the wrong people for the job. And it is not just the manager, it's not just the director of football, it's not just the hiring of that, he's struggling to identify players. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what to do. And there have been some great pieces have been written about West Ham. People forward them to me. There was one in the Observer. There was one in the Times. People are onto it. People have sussed it out. People know what's going wrong with West Ham. Yet he is surrounded by yes men. He is surrounded by close friends and family, and nobody is telling David Sullivan the harsh truths. Nobody. He's just not hearing it. And even if he did, I'm not even sure he'd recognise it. I don't know what he's going to do in the next few days. I really, really don't. But I made this point before. He's made mistakes before. But when those mistakes have been made in more recent times of not signing players, it's been like, when we got Jesse Lingard and we didn't get a striker. Okay, we had a real chance of getting Champions League that time, but we didn't get Champions League. Well, we didn't. But actually, you look back on it and think, okay, we'll get Europa League or whatever the case may be. The drop-off is not... The drop-off for the incompetence of not making the signings wasn't costly. Now it's costly. I don't think he realises that there's no living this down. There's no getting away from this. This is not like before. I don't think he can't fluke it. He can't go and hire David Moyes again. And I said this, I did a Patreon video yesterday. I'd be fascinated to have seen, had David Moyes had stayed on at the end of last season, you know what I'm saying, had David Moyes had not been let go, I wonder what he'd have done with that midfield. I can't imagine David Moyes would have carried on playing Ward-Prowse, Souček and Alvarez. Or would he? I'm thinking not. You'd have think he'd have put a little bit of pace in there, something like that. I don't know. But I can't think of anyone good enough that would come in and do a job. I just can't. I can't. Even if there was, I just can't see Sullivan appointing him. Because as far as Sullivan's concerned, he's not done anything wrong. You have to believe this. He doesn't think he's done anything wrong. I don't even think he thinks that Lopetegui one was wrong. Because maybe Potter's slightly worse than Lopetegui. I don't know. I don't know what his mindset is. But I'll tell you what. He won't be questioning himself. He won't be thinking, hold on, Lopetegui was wrong. Potter was wrong. You'd probably gathered by now, I don't think Potter's going to last. And I don't... But anyway, my point is, he won't be thinking, maybe I should get some advice on the next appointment. He won't do it. He'll just appoint whoever he wants to appoint. We are desperate. We are desperate for change at this club. We're desperate for someone to take us over. We really are. Anyway, look, as far as today's concerned, sorry, it is a match day, and I probably wouldn't have done this video today, but I've been away for a few days anyway. So I've just my sort of first reaction to what's happened over the last 3 or 4 days. Listening to Michael's video, and is it? I don't know what Potter's going to do. I don't think it's a free hit. By the way, that would be my answer to that question. I don't think this is a free hit. I'm not sure he can survive us going out. He is a man with the weight of the world on his shoulders. I don't think he's got, and I don't mean this to be mean, I really don't. So I think he's just been appointed to a role which he's not suited to. I don't think he's got the charisma to pull us out of this. And you may be thinking, what's charisma got to do? What about the tactics? I don't think he's got that stuff either. But sometimes, force of personality is important in these times. It allows you to lift and rally the troops. I think all that stuff now, looking at it in hindsight, I think it probably was a nice trip to America. I think it was probably a nice trip when I went out to the Black Forest, and then we did some training and we played grasshoppers and that. I think that probably was good. But thinking about it, it was a team building thing. Yes, I think all that stuff is important and it looked good, but you now look at it, the team is devoid of leaders, absolutely devoid of leaders, and I just don't see Potter as that. I don't see him as taking charge. I look at a man that's crumbling, I just can't see that he'll turn it round. I can't see it Tactically, I don't think he's got it in the squad. I don't think he's been supported, as you know. I hope I made that clear in the first sort of 14 minutes of this video. I don't think he's been supported. All that being said, just because Sullivan has done such a bad job doesn't mean that Potter's suddenly brilliant. It's I'm just really reluctant to find one smoking gun here. I don't just think there is one. Just to find that we find one bad guy and it's David Sullivan that solves everything. I just don't. I think it's the main problem, the biggest problem. But the biggest issue of that is under his ownership, we've hired a lot of the players are not up to it, by the way, and a lot of the staff are not up to it as well. And that's where we find ourselves. So I don't think, as you probably gathered, that Graham Potter can get us out of this. I'd love us to win the next 2 games. Get, a couple of midfielders and a striker, possibly a defender as well, that would make the difference. I just can't see it. I think 4 bare minimum. Those positions. 2 midfielders, central defender, robust one, a naughty one, one with grit and determination, a leader. I just can't see, because I don't think he recognises it. And the striker was the other one, sorry. I don't think he recognises it. I don't think he recognises what's wrong. And that's the problem. And, and it's what I'm saying. He's saying, hold my beer, I'm going to deal with this. But how are you going to fix something if you can't identify what's wrong?